Hello everyone, welcome to another rapid speedrun game against Denis Losenko, rated 1484. Let's try to get a Kalashnikov Sicilian, and we do not. We get the bishop c4, which we've seen many times, and we already know the response. Even though this guy's almost 1500, he lets us create a pawn duo with tempo in the center. He now gives us a check, and we're going to block it with a forcing move, forcing him to decide. Trade, retreat, protect. He takes, developing our queen for us, and now we have a piece out before white. We have a pawn duo. So what's the point of this? It's not good for white. He pushes the pawn forward, and you could just attack it and let him play d4 with a good French since you don't have your bad bishop. But what if we try to deny that? What if we try to take away d4 from him? Is that a thing? Takes, takes, queen b6. That looks a little loose, but knight out, knight out. Yeah, that's kind of loose. Let's just play a normal game. Maybe you can play like that, but I'll just want to do normal stuff. I have, like I said, a French without the bad bishop, so I shouldn't complain. I guess I have to waste some tempi putting it back to b6 like in the French, but so what? Maybe I don't even have to. I mean, he hasn't developed anything, so I'm just going to go f6. Very early pawn break with f6, especially since I also got in c5. He ignores me. But now I can kind of disrupt this pawn chain. First, let me take here. Okay, he gets rid of one of the three pawns. Now let me take here. Always watch out for this check, but we always have a queen right here, which is nice. He takes with the knight, hitting our queen. So let's take it, drawing his pawn here. Now we have access to the c5 square for our pieces. And his pawn is pretty extended, and that pawn protects our pawn from a rook, our weak pawn. So we basically just opened up lots of different lines, and we're going to start with free developing. I think we're going to castle queenside. Okay, he responds with a forcing move, so we have to respond. Okay, let's take it and see what he recaptures with. The queen. So the queen's on a dark square, so there's no longer those checks, I notice. Okay, in this case, I need to stay flexible and bring out my knight to its only real square. I could castle either way. I'm going to fake him out. So he castles. I think my knight makes a lot of sense here, hitting his center. This, it could eventually be hit, although it's unclear exactly which way I want my knight to go. I don't want to commit it too early, wasting moves. A rook to the c file makes sense, but do I want to long castle first? Or I could just short castle. Let's just short castle, since he doesn't have any pieces on this side of the board. My king's safe, and my rook is immediately in the game. He develops a knight. What does this threaten? He can't even move, so nothing. Whenever I attack this, I imagine he's going to do this. Okay, so let's just bring a rook to the c file. Just get our last piece in the game before we commit to anything. We could also maybe tuck our king away, a little safer. Okay, so he overprotects the pawn, just looks at the center, but undefends this pawn. Interesting. Now that all of my pieces are in good locations, I mean, you could improve your queen, but I'm going to wait for a better moment to put it exactly where it should be. I don't know exactly where it should be right now. And I think my pieces, they're all active enough that if I launch these two pawns up, it'll open up my rook for the c file. Who knows? Okay, so he commits a pawn, which weakens the c file and his knight. You see, that's why I did a pawn move, just to see how he reacts. I knew my position's not really going to be worse from this move, and now this gives me new opportunities. He pushed two, that means he's leaving all this space behind. So I can immediately infiltrate with doubling potential and threats. I like that. You see, so now that there's more clarity in the position, more obvious weaknesses, I know I have a clearer plan. I know what to do easier and better. So he defends the pawn, but that's, it takes a whole turn to do that. We could put pressure on the knight with triple stacking. I mean, he can defend it probably. Although, although we're pinned, so that, who knows what's happening. Okay. I mean, do we really want our rook in the f file? Probably not. Let's just switch it to the c file, which is fully open, and it comes with a threat. Okay, he defends. As predicted. Oh wait, what am I saying? My queen won't be pinned in that line because when I triple, it'll be on the c file. So let's move it, and this will still be supported by the rook. So let's move our queen to triple because he can only, I guess he can go here to try to defend. Takes, takes. Our queen would even be in front, which is less than desirable. So let's say here, here. What other moves do I have? I can just reorganize my pieces. What to do? I think I should move my queen or lift my rook and to put my queen behind it. Thing is, this pawn would also be hanging depending on what I do. So, do I give him another turn and just play a6, see what he does? That's kind of lame. Okay, I'll just reorganize my pieces if he defends, that's all. For now, I'll go here and threaten to win the knight and get it out of this alignment. So it's a useful move, it comes for free, and even if he defends well, I'll just go get the turn back, right? That's the nice part about free moves is, yeah, you test your opponent. If he passes, you go again. He doesn't pass, you win the game. Just give him those tests constantly. Just keep every day pop quiz. Okay. Rook e3. This is the move that I thought was a blunder. I thought he had to retreat his knight somewhere. Because don't I have d4? I think so. I don't see the drawback to this move. It also opens up a great square for my knight, diagonal for my queen, back rank checkmate issues if he moves the knight. Now it's definitely game over. So you see, he didn't pass the test. I gave him a pop quiz. He wasn't paying attention in class. F. This is what you hear chess commentators call posing practical problems to your opponent. Because even if he does find the best move, I still have a much better position and it's my turn, so no drawback to trying. Now he's realizing what he's done. It's very easy to kind of overlook this, even though it's obvious in one way, but it's not obvious in that you're just like, oh, I have three defenders. You're just not thinking about this little pawn move, you know? It's just not on your radar, really. It was on mine afterwards. In any case, we found it, and he has to, I guess, resign. Unless. That's so funny. As soon as I highlight it, if I take this way, he can go for this, which isn't a checkmate, but looks cool. In any case, we could probably take this way. And when he takes back, I mean, even if the queen gets here, the king just goes here. So you could take whichever way you want. I'm going to take this way. It forces trades. He's going to lose. He already lost the knight, and now he has to trade at least one of the rooks. He has back rank issues. Okay, he takes this way. So we're going to take this way so we keep our queen. He's going to give us a check. I wonder if it's funny if this even works. Takes. No, then he'll take here. So yeah, check here, check here, and your king is perfectly safe. He doesn't have any pieces. And your next move is c2 and c1. So all of this was clever. Doesn't work. Okay, he doesn't go for it. He goes queen out of the way, hits the knight, and maybe he's gonna, I don't know, try some lame stuff. But there's no real checks, so I think I'm gonna ignore him and just promote. A lot of you guys would react. A lot of you guys would be like, oh, f5 is a great square for your knight. d5 is a great square for your knight. g6 stops all threats. And that's all true. But who cares? Just promote. Okay, he's not concerned. Is he going to hang his queen? He made room for his king, so does that mean he wants to run? Or does he see his queen's hanging? He does not see it. And we're up 20 points of material. Okay, so once again, we face the Bowdler attack, the Sicilian Bowdler attack, where they put their bishop here early, which gives us an easy plan, e6, d5. Punch the bishop right in the face, right out of the center. Boom. Give it to boot and create a pawn duo. He gives a check, force move. He takes, force move. He pushes. Now, out of curiosity, it is the best engine move. I had a feeling d4 was probably the right response, not allowing him to play d4 himself. So if we just take a knight c6 is, equally as good, but the principled move would have been d4 if you know the follow-up. So if he takes, and what did I say? I said queen b6 and then knight out, something like that. Let's do something normal, just like knight out. He's hitting the pawn. We go knight out. Okay, let's say he definitely wants us to prevent us from pushing again. Is bishop c5 terrible? No, it's playable. So let's say he does that. We do this. He does this. We do this. We castle. He brings the knight in. We bring a rook in. He goes back. We jump in. Okay, so I guess you can maintain everything. You can maintain the pawn on d4. You have the nice d5 square for your knight. Let me turn off the lines. It's confusing. It's still an equal game, but black's slightly preferred out of the opening when that should be white. So, and this Generally looks pretty good, I think. Your king's a little lonely, but you have a lot of central play. Okay, I mean, if we ever get that in this speed run again, we'll go for that, but I doubt it's gonna happen. We'll see. So we don't do that. We just think about it, and we develop our knight. It says we're minus zero point 0.7, so black is it's just a good French. This is the French structure, advanced French, but you don't have your bad bishop stuck here, so it's just, you know, good for black. And is f6 sound at all? Okay, so it is in the tied for the top move with developing your knight. Okay, so whenever you play f6, always look at that game and see if it was correct or not when in these French structures, because half the time you'll be right, half the time you'll be completely wrong. Just a blunder that collapses your position. And I mean, if you want to learn more about it, you should definitely look at it. So here we play it. I figured in normal Frenches, your queen goes on b6, which would take 2 turns. You could just develop normally, but you're still a little cramped. And since he doesn't have any pieces here or anywhere, they're not developed at all. I thought we can get away with it, and we can. So we just break down his center. We collapse his center. He hits our queen, so let's say force move. And now we really just simplified the game. We opened up a bunch of lines, but what we did was we gave ourselves a connected pass pawn right here. So in an endgame, we have a win condition, right? His king would have to babysit it in a king and pawn endgame. That's why black's preferred. So now we just develop for free. Force move, development in center, and king safety. Completely equal game, right? Anyone can outplay the other one from this position, but I'd rather be black because we have the connected passer and we're solid enough. He castles, king safety, and development. Still even. Development towards the open file, nothing special. He goes here. I was looking at which way to move my knight to put pressure on this pawn. I was even considering doubling up with my queen, maybe even the rook. And then I figured he'd be forced to go f4 at some point to defend it with with a pawn, not a piece. But I guess that's why they want the knight here, because it also looks at f4, making it harder for that. Oh, that's interesting. In any case, it's not necessary. We go for this semi-random move b5. The idea is to eventually, when we're ready, have b4 in our pocket to kick the knight, to jump in, maybe once we're doubled, or something like that. So I just throw in this move to see what he does. I figured he was going to go a3, and I was just going to get the turn back, and then we continue from there. But instead he played b4, which is severely weakening, and this, you see, now the knight's not defended by a pawn. So this move right here is the main reason that we started having ideas on the c-file, on the knight, infiltration ideas, all because of this pawn move. So if he did the move I expected, a3, while it's nothing spectacular to the eye, it's not going to collapse your position, weaken your knight. So there's big differences in pawn moves. So be careful when moving pawns. So anyway, he goes here. So now I want to take advantage of the c-file. That's why I infiltrate and prepare doubling with a threat. He defends, and we just double for free. Okay, he has this weird move, knight e4, because our queen is loose. And then he could jump in here. So let's say he goes here. I mean, I would definitely just infiltrate. He'll move his queen. I mean, he can't move it here because it gets trapped. So let's say he goes back or something, or here, somewhere else. No, he has to keep the alignment or he hangs his knight. So he has to go here. And then I guess if I just bring my rook in, and you let him in here. Is that a big deal? What's the line? Okay, so that's not even the best move. Knight f5 is the best. Oh, covering that. Duh. That's obvious. But let's say we go here and he goes back. How do we play this position? We just unpin and re-threaten the knight and let it hop in here. And then we just move our rook, either keep the double or go back to this nice place. And once your rook's out of the way, his knight will be not as strong as it looks, because everything will be on his side of the board by then. But okay, it's a cute move, it's playable, and it's not like we're just crushing. I mean, black's preferred, but white has resources, and this is kind of by far his best resource. The position gets a lot worse for him if he doesn't find this clever move, and he didn't. Most players won't, of course. So he just does the natural thing, which is defend. We do the natural thing and triple. You could also go knight g6, hitting the pawn. That makes some sense, improving the piece. Knight f5, improving the piece. So improve the knight, or queen c6, because it's a threat. You're -1, and so... Wow, so his only two moves... Okay, anything other than the knight moves I mentioned is -4. White just loses immediately. So I knew he had these two moves, but they're saying that knight e2 is way, way better than knight a2. So knight e2 is -1, black's better. Knight a2 is -2.3, black's winning. So if he goes here, so it's not even like a rook takes this takes type of thing, because everything's defended. So you don't want to start the captures for no reason, because that's just trades. So if you improve your least active piece, and he just does Luft, we're positionally winning because we have d4 ideas, and this is all too strong, according to the engine. Okay? But if he goes this way, and I improve my least active piece, and he makes Luft for his king, I don't have d4, which slows down the progression of my position. As if I was able to play d4, then queen d5, supporting it and supporting further pawn thrusts, it'll be a lot easier to make progress, to move my rook, get my queen into your position. Interesting. Okay, I mean, I just figured, I only think one move ahead a lot of the times. I like to play. That's the only way I can play, let's put it that way. I can't do 20 move calculation stuff on every turn. So after I tripled, I just figured, okay, he's going to move his knight away to one of these, and I'll have to think from there. But he just blundered, and we find d4, free stuff, and then just queening, and it's over. So pretty cool game, some cool ideas. And you can see how one little pawn move creates weaknesses that give us an entire plan and makes our game so easy to play from then on. Make it hard for your opponent to make progress by not collapsing your position. If that means moving your king back and forth, it's probably better than what your opponent's doing. So, good luck, goodbye.